So there you are, watching the Super Bowl. You're either watching a team make history or watching a team make you regret your latest parlay. Then, out of nowhere, boom, Jesus jump scare. He doesn't show up as the headliner for the halftime performance, one of Kendrick's backup dancers, or as the Chiefs' desperately needed salvation, but in an ad. Again, in yet another Super Bowl. Folks, that's right. We're talking about He Gets Us, the campaign that spent over $100 million to tell us that Jesus is, well, relatable. But here's the question. Is this money well spent? Or would Jesus himself be flipping tables over this marketing strategy? Let's get into it. Now, who is He Gets Us? They're an evangelical organization funded by mainly anonymous donors, most of whom come from evangelical circles themselves. They're part of a broader effort that is trying to be Jesus's modern day marketing team. They decided that Christianity's current marketing strategy of storming the Capitol might not give Jesus the PR necessary to gain a following. Although, from a purely marketing standpoint, concerningly, it might be working. He Gets Us focuses on the teachings of Jesus that side themselves with those who find themselves on the margins of society, trying to show that Jesus was just a chill guy. The goal here is to show the radical, loving, compassionate side of Jesus, instead of an exclusive view that many Christians have taken. Many of these ads stated things that might be controversial in the conservative Christian world. Ads that have messages like Jesus was a refugee and Jesus loved the outcasts. These messages give you the warm fuzzies inside. More of these ads include kids playing, ending with Jesus didn't teach hate. Another dramatic black and white ad reminds us that Jesus hung out with the rejects of society. They're drawing backlash from both the right and the left on this issue. So they must be doing something right. Right? All of this sounds great in theory. And while many people may think that people on the left shouldn't have a problem with these ads, let's talk about why they do and what the real problem here is: the price tag. The Super Bowl ad is not their first ad. It's not even their first Super Bowl ad. So how much did this ad cost? For just a few minutes of airtime, this ad cost over $100 million. Does that price tag sound familiar? For that price tag, what could this ad fund? Food for food banks, resources for homeless shelters or medical clinics, many other things. So ultimately, is it worth it to spend this much money to make Jesus just seem like this relatable guy? And does it even have the intended effect that they want it to? The irony of marketing Jesus is that Jesus flipped tables over money changers in the temple. I don't know if Jesus would be down for this. In James 5, and James is purportedly the brother of Jesus, James talks about the woe that comes upon the rich who exploit the poor. Jesus pronounces blessings on the poor and condemnation and woe upon the rich in Luke 6. So is Jesus cool with this? Jesus, the guy who flipped tables, now has a multi-million-dollar campaign in his name. Anybody else who grew up in church confused? Another great question to be asking is, are these ads even effective for what their desired outcome is? He Gets Us desires to evangelize. That's their stated purpose. If that's their stated purpose, are they even really fulfilling it? Can these cute little ads really bring people to Jesus in the way that they want to? And if these ads convinced anybody, please let me know in the comments. I genuinely do want to know. I want to know if their ad campaign is working. But in reality, it feels more like putting out fires and running PR for white evangelicalism, which in many circles is getting well-deserved bad rap. Because let's be honest, Jesus didn't need a marketing department. He had his sandals and a donkey and pretty solid word-of-mouth strategy. His word spoke for itself. And did Jesus even want to amass a large following? In many instances, he said things that people didn't like, that turned people off, and was not upset or worried about his image whenever people left. We'd also be remiss if we didn't talk about right-wing evangelical ties to He Gets Us. I don't think He Gets Us is beating the rebrand for conservative Christianity allegations. One of their largest donors is the Green family, who you may know as the owners of Hobby Lobby, who famously tried to deny birth control to their employees because they believe they have a right to police other people's bodies because of their Christian beliefs. I've seen this in many places, and honestly, I've taken part in this strategy myself myself. It makes me ashamed to say that I tried to make Christianity more palatable by repackaging Jesus in this easily digestible way, while not explaining some of the more insidious views that Christianity holds. Trying to say things like other Christians might be hateful, but that's not who we are. I've seen this happen to many queer people before. It's a classic bait and switch. Come to our church. We love everyone. You're welcome here. Then, once you've got them hooked and you've connected them to the church, they've made real connections. You've introduced them to a small group or something like this. Then you introduce them to the idea that God doesn't approve of their actions. You make them reliant on the church, and then you pull the rug out from under them. If a church says that they welcome all, but they don't proudly fly pride memorabilia, do not believe them. I feel like this version of Christianity can be more harmful than the version that simply states up front, we don't approve of you. Now, He Gets Us has received backlash from both conservatives and progressives. They've received it from conservatives because they believe that they're giving a watered down version of Jesus, which is what they accuse progressive Christianity of frequently. The ironic thing is they've also received the same backlash from progressive Christianity. They're stating that this idea of Jesus doesn't require anything of people. This version of Jesus is soft and loving, not the Jesus who flipped power structures, not the Jesus who was crucified for speaking against the power structures of his day. While these ads might make Jesus more palatable for some, this Jesus requires nothing of anybody. It's about as deep as telling somebody that Jesus loves you, okay? And what does that mean? Just because someone loves me, that doesn't mean it requires anything of me. The Jesus of the New Testament tells people they must sacrifice in order to follow him. Now, that's interpreted in many different ways, but the way that I see it, it requires those who have power to give up that power. Like the rich young ruler that Jesus tells he needs to get rid of all of his possessions if he's going to follow after Jesus. If you're going to follow Jesus, follow the Jesus that teaches emptying yourself of that power. So He Gets Us. Ask yourself, is this really about spreading the gospel? Or is it about reclaiming ground in the culture wars? That's the $1 million, $100 million question. So, would Jesus approve of this campaign? What would Jesus's marketing strategy be? Or would Jesus even have a marketing strategy? Jesus seems more like a doer than a strategizer. Christians, I came from your faith. I still love many things about it. Should you be focusing on your PR and the way you're viewed right now? Or should you do and let that affect how people view you? It's a question that I ask myself. What am I doing? Am I actually doing good in the world? Or am I just talking about it? On one hand, He Gets Us is an attempt to make Jesus accessible again. Many of us deconstructed and deconverted because our view of Jesus didn't align with the view that the church is pushing right now, but is spending millions of dollars on ads instead of actually being the hands and feet of Jesus in the world, sending the right messages to those who have deconstructed. Many who have left evangelical spaces won't ever go back. It doesn't matter how much you try to rebrand Jesus. Maybe instead of telling us He gets us, the evangelical church should show us. That's it for today. Let me know what you think. Was He Gets Us a win or just another expensive stunt? Give this video a like, drop your thoughts, send me a message, and if you enjoyed this, share it with one of your Misfit friends. Until next time, remember, Jesus probably wouldn't have bought an ad space in the Super Bowl. Peace.